Okay, welcome to the June 4th, 2024 council meeting. Prior to the open session, council met for a closed meeting. It was moved by Councillor McCann, seconded by Councillor Borneman. That pursuant to section 239(2) and 3 of the Municipal Act SO 2001 C25 as amended, Council of the Corporation of the Town of Parry Sound moved to a special meeting closed to the public in order to address matters pertaining to litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, Parry Sound Area Municipal Airport, and claim against the town. F, advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, Parry Sound Municipal Airport, and claims against the town. And K, a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board, construction financing for the West Parry Sound Recreation and Culture Center. That was carried and the meeting was held. As a reminder, the meetings are live streamed and recorded and available on the internet by visiting the Town of Parry Sound's website at www.parrysound.ca. And at this time, I'd like to acknowledge that we're on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe people under the Robinson-Huron Treaty of 1850 and the waterways traveled by the Métis of this region. And any additions or prioritization of the agenda? No? Okay. Mover and seconder for the agenda then. Councillor Ashford and Councillor Keith. That the council agenda for June 4th, 2024 be approved as circulated. All in favor? That's carried. Any disclosure of pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof? Seeing none. Mover and seconder for the minutes. Councillor McCann, Councillor Keith, that the minutes from the regular council meeting held May 21st, 2024 be approved as circulated. Any discussion or comments on those minutes? Seeing none, all in favor then? That's carried. Okay. We don't have any deputations? No
Yes, we have deputations.
Okay, no presentations. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Questions of staff then. Councillor Borneman.
I've got a few questions for Mr. Cairns. We can go rapid fire or one at a time, whatever you prefer. Mr. Cairns, what happened to our yellow bollards on Joseph Street? Did they prove to be ineffective, or have we just not had time to put them out yet?
Through your worship. So we are awaiting our line painting contractor to come through first so that we can reinstall the center line, and then the bollards will go up after that.
Okay. Next question is, we've been managing the water plant at the industrial park for 2 or 3 months now. My recollection is that we were requiring to hire some additional staff to take on that responsibility. Where are we in that process?
Through your worship, we should be having some job ads going out shortly for filling positions. We had a bit of an internal process to move through, first of all, which was just completed this week. So we are well on our way. Okay,
and last one, and this is as much a comment as a question. I've had a number of comments regarding the sidewalks on William Street between Rosetta and Hillcrest and Hillcrest Avenue itself. Is there any hope of some reclamation in the near future? There are some spots where the sidewalks are in pretty poor repair.
Through your worship, so we are working on a sidewalk tender as we speak, and we will be bringing those results back to council shortly, and we will be making some further decisions on extra work after that tender comes back. So those are areas that we will be looking at making improvements as well.
Thank you. Yep. So while Mr. Kearns is taking questions, I do have one. I've had a number of people ask me why we chose the direction that we did for McIsaac Way. That it really should be coming up from, I'm going to say the town dock area. Coming off Bay Street down towards the town dock area. And the reason that people are saying this is because if you have to pull up the way that it is and try to navigate onto Bay Street, that you have to really crank your body around to see down the street on lower Bay Street. And it's making it very challenging. And they witnessed one person actually almost got hit because even though they did look, they didn't see what was coming around the corner fast enough. And it was a close call. The other is that one of the local businesses, from what I understand, has docking privileges, or I guess docking privileges at along that area, and to take goods to people in their boats. And from what I understand, now they have to go out onto Bay Street and then go down the street with rather large loads and then offload into the barges or boats. And the other way would keep at least the large load off the street going down that McIsaac Way towards the waterfront if it was reversed. So do we have an explanation as to why that way was chosen?
Certainly. Thank you, Your Worship. So there are a number of reasons. Staff, we did look at it between Public Works and bylaw over a period of time, and did look at the pros and cons of both directions. So one of the big reasons has to do with snow removal in the wintertime. It is a street in town that is maintained year round, and our plows discharge snow to the right of the truck, which would pile snow in front of the building and the businesses during winter snow removal activities, should the traffic be turned in the other direction. So the road was plowed in the direction in which the travel is indicated now as a one-way. That is the way that winter maintenance happened. We did look, and while it's not ideal in either direction, staff felt that that direction offered better visibility down either way the fitness trail as crosses the road, although which will not be able to change obviously from the trestle does present some challenges. And as traffic comes in the current direction of travel, we can certainly look at whether we can add some lines to perhaps indicate that the vehicles coming to the top of McIsaac Way, if they were to align themselves almost perpendicular to the road, which is how we viewed it, there is a pretty good sight line in both directions. Plus the traffic exiting that way typically is joining the flow of traffic. So they're joining the right-hand lane, which means we have less traffic crossing the path of travel if they were making a left turn into I guess what we'll refer to as the north side of McIsaac Way. So one of the biggest things has to do with winter maintenance, and it would not be functional from that perspective for the building and the businesses down there. We can certainly have a chat with the business that is having some challenges with the lumber deliveries. McIsaac Way is being treated as one of our streets though, so I'm hoping that the loads are acceptable to be on the road. Because either street, realistically, the load should be legal to be traversing the roadway. So, but we can certainly engage with them and see if there's something we can do to mitigate the issues that they're having.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Councillor McDonald. Councillor McDonald is online tonight.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. I believe this question may be for either Mr. Thompson or Mr. Harris. Just for public's interest, and I've been getting a lot of questions about this in regards to the cruise ships docking at the salt docks or what's happening with them dropping anchor in the harbor. Kind of what's the updates for the public on and for the merchants down on the downtown core, what's happening there?
Through the mayor to Councillor McDonald, we a couple of meetings ago had a report in front of council that outlined the results of a comprehensive condition assessment report that DFO, Department of Fisheries and Oceans, had conducted, as it's a federal dock. The results of that review indicated it wasn't appropriate for any vessel larger than the Island Queen to dock at the town dock. We personally spoke with the cruise ship companies to let them know what was going on. The Pearl Mist anchored at the salt dock. There's some challenges with that. It's distance from the town dock and the activities that the passengers like to avail themselves of. So the next visit is June 8th, and they're going to try anchoring off the town dock so that they'll be able to tender their passengers into the main dock and see how that works. They think that's going to be that's going to work for them. In the meantime, though, the town has engaged Tatham Engineering to work with the Pearl Mist engineers to see if there's a mechanism, a way in which we can have the Pearl Mist dock at the main dock within the specifications that the DFO engineers have set out. So that work, we met last week, that work has commenced, and hopefully there'll be a solution there. But the DFO owns the dock, and their engineers have said that they don't want us having anybody anchor at the dock. That's a larger ship than the Island Queen. And so we're taking that quite seriously but working on solutions.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions for staff? Councillor Keith and then Councillor Belaski.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have two questions for Mr. Cairns and one for Mr. Harris. Mr. Cairns, my first question has to do with the fitness trail down near Bay Street, near the end of Bay Street, but not quite at the end. Have had some concerns that we need another stop sign, and I'm wondering if you can look at that. When one is on the fitness trail and they're bicycling away along that area, there's of course a parking lot before that final stop sign, and I've had a couple of people within a little over a week advised me that twice, although they looked both directions before they were going to turn onto Bay Street, like turn right onto Bay Street, bingo, a cyclist came along. So I'm wondering if a stop sign there, I know we have one a little further, but a stop sign there when you're really booging wouldn't be something that one can look at. And my second question, which is pretty short, could you give us an update on the wall there at Gibson Street where we're putting in that retainer wall near Gibson and Logan, please?
Thank you. Through your worship, just for clarification, Councillor Keith, you're asking about a stop sign on the fitness trail. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That's and the contract is we did run into a couple of gaps with some utilities that were not previously known. That was overcome pretty quickly. So that wall project should be wrapped up in the next couple weeks, 1 to 2 weeks.
Thank you. My last question is for Mr. Harris, and I'm just wondering if you can give us an update how we're doing for the interviews of the economic officer, please, position.
Through the chair to Councillor Keith, we've interviewed, did the first interviews. They were completed last week. And a process that the town uses, and I think quite successfully, is a psychological assessment, a questionnaire that people interested in a position are asked to complete. So we're in the process of, that's the second phase. And then from that, we'll decide both who is coming back for second interviews, and the preview is the tool that we use. That indicates maybe there's some questions that you might want to ask specific candidates based on the results from the assessment.
So my follow-up would be, is it possible as a result of the previews, you'll have a better idea for setting second interviews in June time, at least?
Yes, that's what we would, that's what we think is going to happen.
Councillor Gillespie.
Thank you, your worship. This is for Mr. Kearns as well. I'll do them one at a time. I spent a couple of hours over the last few days sitting in parking lot at Wabick and Church Street. And that intersection is right now very terrifying, the way the cars come around that corner. Some of the, I guess the people that live here know what's going on, but there's visitors to the town that don't understand it completely. Their trees are, there's quite a bit to this, and I won't go through it all. I guess there's trees over the retaining wall on Wabick Street that before you get to the stop street, it's the traffic, people can't see the sidewalk comes up to an end there or crosses the road. Is there some way that I could sit with someone from your staff and look at some of the issues and see what we can do to resolve them?
Certainly, through your worship. Certainly, if there's some sightline issues, that can be accomplished pretty quickly. And just to indicate, we are waiting on our line painting contractor, who's expected to be here within the next 2 to 3 weeks. Unfortunately, the wet weather has played a bit of havoc on everybody's schedules. Line painting is very dependent on the weather. So, but our staff have gotten out and begun doing our own internal line painting, but that will certainly help that intersection. But we can absolutely take a look at some of those issues.
Yeah, thank you. And I was going to thank you for putting your stop blocks in. I've seen you've got a crew out working on them now.
Yes.
Asphalt patching, in particular on Wood Street. I drove down that street and it made an awful mess of my car. The asphalt wasn't staying in the pothole very good. Are they cleaning it out, or are they packing it down, or how are, is there a better operation? Unfortunately, I have a white car, but the bottom of it wasn't white when I drove over the patch. So it's, is there a better method of doing it?
Through your worship. So typically with our cold patching process, we do compact the asphalt, the cold patch asphalt, as it's put into the pothole. I think unfortunately sometimes when it's very warm out, that asphalt can tend to track a little bit, but certainly we can take a look at whether there's something else we can do to minimize that for sure, especially during the warm weather, which we've been having recently. So we'll look at a couple of options to perhaps mitigate that or eliminate that possibility of the cold patch tracking out of the patches.
Did I see that we have, does the town own a heat box for using hot asphalt?
Through your worship, we do. It is a small heat box, which is actually something within our capital budget that we're looking at investing in, one that makes a lot more sense for our size of operation.
Okay, and just a question: how's the canteen? I guess you called it at the recreation center. You were going to inquire on how you were going to staff it. I know it's only June, but last year we were kind of late getting going on it. I'm just wondering if how's it going?
Yes, through your worship. So that's a good point. I appreciate you bringing that up. We've had some preliminary discussions earlier in the spring, but we'll certainly make sure we have a good handle on that before the end of June.
Great, thank you. And I do have one for Mr. Harris. Have you put any extra thought, or have you put thought into getting the budget closed in December rather than March, April? I know it's a lot of extra work, but it's only extra work for once you move it forwards. One of the issues I think that, and it was demonstrated this evening, the staff can't put out tenders or RFPs or anything until they've got money. And if we're not giving them money till March, and then they put out the tender, that puts us kind of back in line on other. And in my previous life, we try and get the budget done early so that we could be first in line with these contractors or suppliers even for vehicles. So I'm just wondering if you any reason why we couldn't do it, or have you put any thought into possibly doing it?
Through the mayor, no issue with trying to move it up sooner. I think, in fact, we typically would get it done perhaps in the February timeframe, but we've had staff issues, shortages, turnover in finance department that just pushes everything back. So trying to get back on schedule is a challenge. One of the things that I think would help at the staff level, typically my experience in the 5 years I've been here, we do a good job, I think, of vetting projects, getting input from council, and so that the draft list that goes to council is typically pretty close to what's getting approved. There's not big changes. So I think knowing that, staff could prepare the tender documents, prepare the RFPs, do all the legwork so that when it's approved, you just press send and put it on bids and tenders. I think what happens, that work's not done until after the budget's approved, and there's no reason it couldn't be done sooner. So I think there's ways we can move the budget process sooner. And then there's also ways that staff can accommodate it if it's not as early as everybody would like. But yeah, we want to get in line as soon as we can for projects so that contractors aren't committed to other projects. So, I mean, the goal is there and we support that fully.
Thank you. And sometimes when you're making purchases, the suppliers usually have a quota that they want to fill. And sometimes the very first quotations they receive, or the RFPs they receive, they'll be a little low on them to try and reach their quota. Then once they reach their quota, the prices will go up accordingly because they've met their quota. I found that has happened before too. So if we can be kind of first in line instead of being farther on down, that's what I was thinking. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Anything further? No. Correspondence, Ms. Johnson.
Your Worship, we have 4 items of correspondence this evening. The first is from the Parry Sound Area Chamber of Commerce, signed by Chris McDonald, Executive Director, thanking the town for the contribution of $7,982 to the Chamber of Commerce in the 2024 budget. The second item is from Mary Jane Zissoff from Trilogy of Art, her company, indicating that she has been in touch with Mr. John Gillespie, the nephew of Miss Yvonne Williams, with a tentative date for unveiling of the plaque at the Yvonne Williams Park in Parry Sound, scheduled for Saturday, July 13th. And she's just looking for confirmation from the town and availability of people to attend. So plans are being made for that date, just subject to confirmation. The third item is from the Georgian Bay Biosphere, Becky Pollock, Executive Director, and Greg Mason, Director of Operations, noting to the town that Georgian Bay Minadugami Biosphere is celebrating its 20th anniversary this year. So there are a number of events on. Check the website for that. Georgian Bay Biosphere is also looking to do a strategic plan with a 20-year vision forward as well. So there is opportunity this summer for community input, and they are welcoming that. You can also get more information on the website. And lastly, they're offering to present to Town Council if you'd like more information on Georgian Bay Biosphere. And the fourth item is from Parry Sound Standard Condo Corporation 11, known as Granite Harbor, regarding the transfer of ownership of the water line on Salt Dock Road. Barb Barrett is in attendance this evening again to make a deputation. She has come on a couple of other occasions regarding this issue. So what is being presented in the correspondence is a timeline and some background documents, including correspondence to give council an idea of this issue from their perspective. And the deputations that follow starts with Ms. Barrett, so she may have more information.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you very much. So, as our clerk, Ms. Johnson said, we do have some deputations tonight, and Barb Barrett is the first one on the docket, so welcome. And I think you're aware about pressing the button and everything there, so, oh, there's a button on the side as well. Yeah. There.
There.
You're good now.
Good evening, Mayor McIver and council. We'll come once again in regards to the water main issue we're having at Parry Sound Standard Condominium. My name is Barb Barrett, working on behalf of 92 homeowners at 11 South Dock Road. We have been, as Rebecca mentioned, to a number of your meetings to bring this to the forefront. We have been dealing with this for quite some time. And as per our letter that was dropped off and approved by the board after May 18th, everyone, I believe, got a copy of it that was on council, once again saying the concerns that are at front. So we're looking for, I know you keep saying that the file is with your solicitors, and I appreciate that. But the 92 homeowners, if something was to happen, we have also been advised that it would be the homeowners that have to pay for the damage to the pipe and any runoff that may come of that, which would again put them in a very precarious financial position. We also reached out to our insurance company, and we have also asked for, we've only been told verbally that they were responsible for this water main. We're looking for documentation from the town to indicate that we are responsible for the water main. And right now we have not received that either. So on page 3 of the letter that we have submitted, we're hoping to get a timeline that is more clear, that we can hopefully remove this water main, since it's been going on, to our knowledge, at least 2 years, but should have been done when the first phase was registered with the town back in September 13th of 2011. The other thing is, we would also like to have something in writing from the town indicating that that water main is the responsibility of Parry Sound number 11. We do have an AGM coming up the end of June, and as I've mentioned in prior presentations, that we are very transparent with our owners, and we want to be able to say that we're working with the town and we've got a time frame for this work coming forward. And at this particular time, I'm very sorry to say we don't have that. So I'm hoping to hear something tonight that I can take back to the board and to the homeowners to put them a little bit more at ease than we already are.
Do you have anything you might be able to add, Chief Thompson?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I think staff has clearly understood that council is interested in this issue, and we've clearly heard numerous times from Ms. Barrett that that they're eager to have this move forward. So we understand clearly. The issue has been getting the attention and needs from the legal representatives that deal with these types of issues. Just late this afternoon, I did get the first correspondence to me that I've had in a significant period of time. And there are issues surrounding what the recommendations are going to be from our legal firm dealing with, and that's Russell Christie in this case. It's a more complicated issue. We use numerous different legal firms for various issues that the town has to deal with. With the more complicated municipal law issues, we fundamentally use Russell Christie because of their experience and wealth of knowledge and the time that they have been working with the town and understanding our issues. Russell Christie would have been the organization that originally drafted the site plan agreement for this particular development a number of years ago, probably with actually the same solicitor. So it was, information was sent to us that there's a number of issues that they want to iron out. The condo board had provided a site plan amending agreement as a solution. According to the solicitor, that's not the proper avenue to be going down. There are issues surrounding the force main being in the same general vicinity as the water main. The water main is something the town should be taking over. The force main, which is the wastewater main coming from the condos, is not something the town should be taking over. The issues need to be ironed out and the proper agreements put in place. The solicitor is paying attention to it right now. I do not have a firm timeline. We have another, numerous other municipal law issues with Russell Christie right now that are also priorities, and they haven't been able to give me a specific time frame on which they will be able to complete this work. Staff have been after Russell Christie to deal with this, and to a certain extent we're a little bit at their whim with their work volume as well.
Your worship, this kind of saddens me, to be quite honest with you. We were advised by Taylor, who used to be part of your staff, that it was responsibility of Parry Sound number 11 to bring forward the amendment, the agreement to the water main, the amendment. So they did reach out to a solicitor, Elia Associates in downtown Toronto, and had the agreement drafted because we were advised that that would be our responsibility, taking on a very large legal cost that we were not prepared to do. And now I'm being advised that that's not the route we should have been taking. And we should have been waiting more to the town to complete their paperwork.
Chief?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I don't want to get into a back and forth. I don't know if that's appropriate. I would suggest that I didn't say that it was the wrong avenue. What I said was Russell Christie wasn't satisfied with what the condo board's lawyers had provided as being appropriate.
Is there a chance that that a meeting could be set up? Or is it too premature because we don't have anything from Russell Christie? Chief Thompson, what do you think?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, at council's direction, I'm happy to meet with the condo board and any other partners in an attempt to move this file along. I would suggest that staff are not impeding this process. This is the legal mechanisms turning very slowly, and I understand the condo board's concern over how long this is taking. Staff are concerned as well. We can push the issue as hard as we can, but these legal wheels appear to be turning slowly.
Okay.
Your worship?
Yeah.
If I may, as the wheels seem to be moving slowly, then may I suggest or may I request as soon as possible, have something in writing that we can present to the homeowners of Parry Sound number 11, indicating that that water main does belong or is the responsibility of Parry Sound number 11. So then we can hopefully reach out, because I can't even get insurance people to talk to us because they want something in writing. So when we've asked for this a couple of times now, so if we could move forward and at least getting that paperwork, it would be appreciated. Thank you.
Through you, Ms. Mayor, I'm happy to do that. I'd be pulling Russell Christie off the file to provide this information if I were to do that. So the more they work on other aspects of either this file or other files, the slower the process is going to be. A letter such as what is being requested is not going to be coming from staff. It's going to be coming from our legal representatives.
Okay. would this satisfy then, at least for the time being, until we get an answer, what you're asking for? Would this temporarily kind of appease then the condominium board so that we can finally get an answer out of the lawyers? If we offset them, like, we either write a letter to our lawyers and say, look, we want you full steam ahead on this somehow, okay? Or we say, this is the other avenue for the time being that the condo board is asking, which could end up delaying the work on the other part of the file.
Thank you, Your Worship. Either way, at the end of the day, the responsibility still is waiving over Parry Sound number 11.
Yeah.
I don't want to take away from them working on the file and making it clear that we are not responsible for it. But if something were to happen to that pipe, we're still putting the homeowners at Parry Sound number 11 into a financial predicament. Yeah. Because of the premiums that we're going to be charged if we do get this document. So I just need to be able to take something back from the mayor and council saying that to put their minds at ease.
Okay, I don't have an answer for you tonight because it's not on the agenda to discuss. And I think it's a more complicated issue than, because we have no documentation as to what we've got so far. How soon do you need this information?
Sorry. Our AGM is going to be on the last week of June, the Tuesday or the Monday evening. And the president of the board will be putting this in her president's report on what to bring to the table. So we need something more concrete than I continually receive when I come to the meetings that is with your solicitors. And I'm not trying to be rude or disrespectful in any way, but I look at it, if this was my house and this was my responsibility, I would be upset as well.
Chief, is there a chance that we can get, I don't know, something out of Russell Christie for our next council meeting to say they are working on this, or this has been a while, and or I think we need something from them to say what direction they're moving in on this, and if we need a temporary sort of thing to say, okay, the condominium board is responsible for this. But I think there needs to be some discussion on this, and we need to snap a whip on them or something. I don't know what else we do, but this has been a while with them.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I quite agree. And today's communication was the first thing that we had received, and Jeremy and I are feeling good that we've got something back with some concrete information. We can be attempting to get a meeting with Mr. Veldboom as soon as possible, and he might be able to provide a very clear timeline on when he would be able to prepare what he feels should be prepared, or amend what he feels needs to be amended from what the condo board has already provided.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Unfortunately, I think that's the best I can provide you with right now.
Possibility next meeting, try for?
I can do the best I can.
Okay, all right, yeah. Okay, Councilor Borneman, Councilor McCann.
So I'm wondering if there is nothing in writing from Mr. Veldboom prior to our next meeting, if we can't do something similar to what we did tonight and meet in closed session, ask Mr. Veldboom to attend via Zoom so we can get some clarification, some idea of what we're dealing with here and what the major outstanding issues are, why we're not moving this thing ahead in
a
timely
timely
fashion.
manner.
Councilor McCann?
Thank you. Thank you for coming back again. Is there Cole's note version of what makes this situation different from other developments? I know when this, I remember when this came about and what was needing to be done, but why is this an issue? If this obviously is something that's very unique, how was this whole matter born in the first place?
I think that's more information that would be filed to us for that meeting, okay? We're gonna get into a lot more detail tonight, which this is really a deputation period to do so. I'd rather see that information come in a report
Okay, that's
Okay.
fair enough, yeah.
to us on that, so that it's done that way. But I think the important thing is if, council is in favor of trying to get as much as we can for the next council meeting. Do I have a consensus on that? Okay, all right, very good. Mr. Harris.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We'll have a discussion at the staff level before the next council meeting, obviously. But one of the things that, as a resident, if we'll think about whether we can let them know we are not opposed to taking ownership, and we're desirous of taking ownership of the water main. I mean, that in itself has some, I think, reassurance. What we haven't come to terms with is how to do that in a way that protects the town, and that's why we need the lawyer. But I think it's obvious at the staff level, the council level, we're going down this road to achieve that end. It's just taking longer than everybody would like. But I think for the residents, maybe at a minimum, if we're able to put something in pen to paper that says we're desirous of going down this road, taking longer than people might like, but at least that we're not, we reassure the residents, we're not saying no. Now, there, according to Mr. Thompson, there's going to be some concerns because it's a force main in proximity. That's the condo owner responsibility. It's close to the water main. We take ownership of the water main. There's still a force main that will become and remain the responsibility of the condo. So there's technicalities and there's legal documents that need to be in place. But I think we're trying to achieve the same end. It's just taking longer than people would want, and the terms and conditions under that.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. So can I assume what you're saying, that if there was a catastrophe, if that water main was to break or get damaged in any way, the town would support us in any repairs?
Mayor, that's not what I was indicating. And I think, and I don't want to belabor this, but my understanding is, and this predates me, but the situation that the condo board is in is the way it was intended when all the agreements were entered into. I understand that the condo board owns that water main, and that was the way it was meant to be in perpetuity. Now, there's reasons, and staff are looking at those reasons why we might want to take ownership of it, and it certainly would take a burden off the condo board. But we're not correcting a mistake. We're kind of saying, maybe we should own it. But my understanding is that this was set up legally this way for whatever reason at the time, and now we want to change it, and we're, I think, desirous of moving in that direction.
Your Worship, I believe the agreement was made with the developer, and then once it was registered, then the condominium corporation took responsibility of that agreement. So by rights, the agreement was made with the developer, and at that time, believe it or not, I was on the board for the building number A. We were not aware of that we would then take responsibility of that pipe or that main. So I just want to clarify that.
Anyway, I think what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to have something for our next meeting, okay? And we're going to try and see what we can get to move this forward, okay? Which I think we're all desired of, right?
Thank you so much for your time.
Okay, thank you. Our next deputation is Kathy Dyer, Town Dock Refurbishment.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for listening to me tonight. I just wanted to very quickly just read over the letter that I sent. I'm not sure if everybody had the chance to, so I'll do it fairly quickly. But thanks very much, Mr. Mayor and councillors, for listening to me tonight. I'm speaking to you tonight regarding the town dock and the related issues. My husband, Tim, and I have operated a business downtown for 30 years, over 30 years, and we've got 4 apartment buildings that we rent out at low cost. Our hearts are in Parry Sound, where we came to 40 years ago. It was a little town that welcomed us with open arms and has given us a full and happy life. We're concerned with the direction that the town's heading, and we'd like to express our thoughts based on that. The town docks needed repairs, as many of you know, for a long time, and I was on the waterfront committee many years ago when the deterioration of the piers was officially recognized. But now it seems attention's being paid because the cruise ships can't dock there. So we wonder where the town's heading and why this sudden attention to cruise ships. Their presence prevents Parry Sounders and other tourists from visiting and using the dock, yet the economic reasoning isn't made clear. I've spoken personally with several businesses downtown, and in my conversations, business owners feel there's little benefit from them, particularly when compared to other seasonal tourists. What data is behind this push for more ships? I'm only aware of one study by the Canadian Tourism Commission stating that every passenger spends an average of $100 per port visit. This really isn't current information, and my request to you is that each member of council take the time to visit the businesses in the downtown core and talk to us. You've not approached us, yet you seem to be speaking for us. I can tell you that we personally aren't gaining at all. Ask everyone for a rough estimate of the benefits. Then you'll have some real-time data, and then you'll have good data, and we'll feel like we've been consulted and part of the process, because right now we don't. The question is, how many ships do you see coming here in the years to come? Is there an end to this? Do you have a limit? Or are you going to keep promoting increased visitation? And if so, then I think you've got a responsibility to talk to all of us here in the town, businesses and private citizens together. And this will help you understand the impacts, both good and bad, for the fabric of our local community. Parking at the waterfront for folks to enjoy the town talk is now seriously limited. It's less now with the presence of the little cabins, which have taken away valuable spaces. And where does this stop? We've already increased by double from what we were last year in that. For waterfront visitors, this is our jewel, yet you've taken away significant parking space, and I'm wondering what your plans are if development increases. And my last point is the adjacent M&R Service Ontario lands, which complement our beautiful waterfront and dock. And they're a really exciting property that the town can now take on and build as parkland for the benefit of everyone. And the overwhelming public input for the official waterfront plan was for public parkland. And I'm sure you've read that. And I understand there are costs, but imagine 100 years from now, if Parry Sound was known for its vibrant public park right on the shores of Georgian Bay. We want to be proud of this unique harbor and town, and to show the rest of the world that we care about our citizens' health and well-being, and not just short-term economic development. So these are issues that I've thought about for a long time, and it's not an easy job you have. It's rewarding, I'm sure, but it's also thankless that you have, and thank you for taking on the positions that you do. I really do mean that. It's not easy because you've got a lot of information to absorb from all sides and pressures to make the right decisions that are huge, even though we're a little town. And there are issues that all small towns face right now. I really personally feel, and I think most of you sitting here probably do, that we are on the brink of huge change right now with massive projects that are going to affect the town and all of us very profoundly. We're at a turning point, I think. Many of these decisions that you make won't be able to be reversed. So, as I mentioned in the letter, I want you to think about 100 years from now. I know that you're not going to be here. I'm not going to be here. But I use Market Square as an example sometimes. Probably when Market Square was put aside as green space, there was a lot of controversy and yelling going on. But look at it now. It's a jewel right in the middle of town. And that's the way I look at the waterfront, is that once it's developed, that's the end of it, and it'll never go back to being public space or parkland. And this is our opportunity to do it. And I'm going to think way outside the box for a minute, because I'm in private business and a teacher. I like to think outside the box. And I know that town will get, if I understand correctly, a first refusal on that piece of property. And what if you approached the provincial government, who, if I understand correctly, owns it, that if we said as a town in perpetuity it was going to remain parkland and never be developed, if it would be given to us at a very, very low cost. It's just thinking outside the box. I know that we want to encourage development. I know that we can't stop it. And in many ways, it's what keeps us going. I just want us to make sure that we're going in the right direction and not moving too quickly with decisions that can never be reversed. So back to my original point about the cruise ships, I wanted to ask if we could actually canvass businesses officially. I've done it just anecdotally. I've talked to lots of businesses on the main street. I've found two that maybe benefit a little bit, but I'd like to see it on paper. I think that would really help us to know what actually is going on when the passengers come, because I don't believe the $100 per passenger, not from what I'm hearing on the street. So I think communication from your end needs to be better with us, and we're just not informed about it. So past that even, why not ask the passengers as they're boarding, how much money did you spend? Where did you spend it? What was the best thing about Parry Sound? Was it actually the downtown? Or was it the fact that you're cruising among the islands? Is it actually the town that you're liking? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. And I don't think anybody here does, because maybe I'm speaking out of turn, but I would guess that's the case, because I don't know either. So I think just generally, I'm concerned that we're on this huge fast track train, and I think a lot of things need to be thought about before we go ahead with some things. And I think in my mind, when I heard about the town dock all of a sudden getting lots of money that should have been done a long time ago only happened because of cruise ships, I'm concerned. And I see a lot of the waterfront development now being based on cruise ship tourists, including those little huts, I call them, not the people of Parry Sound. We don't even let the people of Parry Sound on the dock when the cruise ships are here. I just want Parry Sound to be a nice place to live. Thanks.
Thank you. Any questions? Councilor McCann?
Thank you, Kathy. It's nice to see you again, and Tim
Nice
as
to
well.
see you, Doug.
You did bring up some excellent points, and I know that personally I promised to get back to you, and I will. I think the major trick here is to find a balance between some of the things that you suggested and what we feel. This sudden interest in the cruise, like the repairs and remediation for the town dock with regards to the huge cruise ships, we kind of stumbled across. I mean, we knew that the cosmetic work was important, and we knew that there were more there was more repair needed as this time went by. Following some studies done, and you'll be hearing more about that, we found out just how badly the work needs to be done, with or without the cruise ships coming in for it. But being on the Waterfront Advisory Committee at this point in time, I know they would be very interested in hearing from you, because we're now looking at taking a survey this summer to get everyone's input on what their vision is for the waterfront. So when I touch base with you, I'll put you in touch with that as well too. So thank you for coming tonight. I just wanted to make the comment about the fact that we're not jumping on all these repairs simply because the cruise ships are here. There's a lot more at stake as well.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Can I respond to that?
Yeah.
Just quickly.
Yeah.
I think it was 8 or 9 years ago I was on that committee, and if I'm not mistaken, we already knew then that the base of that pier was falling apart. So it wasn't just cosmetic, but nothing was happening. So here we are all these years later, and all of a sudden it's happening. Anyway, I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah.
If we'd known about it.
Well, I agree. I've been here for 44 years myself, and I know exactly what you're saying. But we are seeing a growth spurt, and I think there's always a reason behind everything. And so I think that there's a lot of balls in the air right now, so to speak.
Yeah.
But again, Ben, thank you. I'll be in
Thanks.
touch.
Yeah. Just to, and not just for your sake, but the public's sake, whatever, the DFO is spending $200,000 this year for basically public safety on the dock itself. So it's nothing to do with cruise ships or anything like that, but it's about time. They spent that money. As you said, it's been needed for a long time, but they're spending that money for public safety, which we appreciate. Yeah. Any other questions, Ms. Dyer? Thank you for your deputation.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for your time.
All right, we've got reports. I think we'll start with Councillor McDonald on the line tonight.
Thank you, Your Worship. May 21st, I had a chat with our official plan people, Kathy Siggett, to discuss discussion paper 2. May the 28th, I was down at the Salt Docks to welcome the Pearl Mist ship in, and at the same time, the collaboration between the town of Parry Sound and the Chamber of Commerce to open up the info kiosk at the town docks had taken place as well. May 31st, I attended the Community Living Month wrap party. May the 31st again, I attended the Pride flag raising at Town Hall. May the 31st again, attended the grand opening of Parry Sound Eye Care. And on June the 2nd, filling in for Mayor McGarvey, I attended the 80th Air Cadets Annual Review at the BOCC and got to see some of the cadets and their final review for the year. That's my report.
Thank you. Councillor Borneman.
Good evening, Your Worship, everyone. On May 22nd, I attended the monthly meeting of the Belvedere Heights Board of Management. I think it's pretty much business as usual at this point. There is an item on tonight's agenda that we'll get to. May 23rd, the Belvedere Heights Board met via Zoom with members of area councils regarding the 24-bed increase proposal at the home. And on the same date, I had my interview with the consultants working on the town's official plan. May 29th, I attended a special meeting at the airport. I remind members of council and the public that June 6th at the Charles W. Stockey Center, IceCap and the Georgian Bay Biosphere are hosting an event to celebrate the 5th anniversary of IceCap. I want to congratulate both the Georgian Jumpers and the Parry Sound Stingers boys under 17 basketball team. Both have been to the Jumpers were at the national championships recently in Waterloo and fared really well. And the Stingers recently won a provincial event in Ottawa, which is pretty amazing for a community of our size, I think. So it goes to show once again that how much talent we have in the area, and that there are things to do if you want to seek them out and work at it. I just remind everyone that when they get tired of listening to us, that tonight and every Tuesday night through the summer months, Parry Sound Cruisers host their car show on the main street. So get out and have a look at the cars and support the folks who were involved in those events. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Borneman. Councillor McCann.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and fellow councillors, staff and public as well. I had an opportunity a couple of weeks ago to speak with the people working on our town plan, our official plan that is, and it was nice to be able to pass along my thoughts and ideas and vision about where we are going. And I think there's a general consensus that we're going to see a lot of growth here in the next couple of years. Thursday evening, May 23rd, I attended the West Parry Sound District Museum monthly board meeting. It was done so virtually. The April 2024 financial report was received. The Reconnecting exhibition in the Lions Room has been closed, but staff continue to make requests through social media for the public to help identify unknown individuals in the photographs. And it's been a very popular exhibit, and there's some talk about moving or traveling the exhibit around the district. So we're now researching the possibilities and the logistics of that. Our accessibility plan and policies were brought into discussion with some minor alterations made. For the most part, basically correcting typos and grammatical errors. We had some discussion regarding the development of a vacation pay policy. Everybody seems to want their holidays in July. And of course, that's one of our busiest times of the year, and it's very difficult to accommodate. So we're coming up with a vacation policy that will be put in force for our part-time and full-time staff. The museum, on that note, though, is hiring a summer student to fill that gap and to put in a maximum of 308 hours during the summer months. Our annual general meeting is coming up this month, June 20th at 7 at the museum. This will be combined with the opening of the Wabano exhibit ceremonies, and you'll be hearing more about that. Refreshments will be available, and there'll be time to explore that exhibit and the museum in general. The board will hold this regular meeting the week after. I want to take this time to express my condolences to the Mitchell family on the passing of Robert Bob Mitchell, who passed away on May 16th at 91. He's survived by his wife of nearly 68 years. He's got children, grandchildren, an extended family. He was a teacher and a principal for 35 years, most of that time spent in this area at schools like Nobel, McDougall, Carling, Victory, Point of Barrow. I had an opportunity to meet him when we were working on the Parry Sound Victory School commemorative project, and had a chance to sit down and talk to him about his time and memories at the school. Wonderful man, wonderful gentleman, and he will be missed. And finally, I'd like to offer my congratulations to Mayor McGarvey and his wife Allie on being grandparents for the very first time. Son Michael gave birth, well, Michael didn't, unless he's discovered something that I don't know, but his wife gave birth to Madison just 4 days ago, May 30th. So congratulations to you both.
Thank you.
And I hear they live in Carling.
They do. Yeah.
That's my report. Thank you.
Thanks. Councillor Valesky.
Thank you, Your Worship. The only thing I had was the meetings that we had at the Belvedere, and Councillor Borman had addressed them sufficiently. I mentioned the car show on Tuesday nights. I had an opportunity to be down there a little bit before council tonight, and they had a really good selection of automobiles showing up. So if you get a chance on Tuesday nights, even when we're not on council, we can go over. It's well worth attending. Thank you. And that's my report.
Thank you. Yeah, it is well worth attending. Good. Councillor Ashford.
For those of you who feel I'm a little long-winded, please remember this moment, no report.
That's funny. Councillor Keith.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, fellow councillor, staff, and the public. I attended the provincial offenses advisory meeting. Basically, we are holding as a group our own. Really, we're not in debt. We're just about level. There's many areas within the province where unfortunately things are not going so well. So right now we are just, like I said, holding our own, and that's a positive. I attended the discussion paper interview, as has been mentioned by others. I also attended welcoming the Pearl Mist cruise ship when it was at the Salt Dock, as has been my practice of doing my best to attend whenever a cruise ship has come in. What I found also was at least enlightening for me is that I attended the Wasauksing First Nation had a water walk, and it was respecting the water and the importance of the water. And it started at Wasauksing behind the school there. It was 11.5 kilometers and it ended at Yvonne Williams Park. I made it all the way with no aches or pains that day or afterwards, so I am happy about that. So that's a good thing. I want to say the park was very well organized. There had to be at least 200 people walking, many of them school kids, and they were all good little troopers. As I said, it was well organized. I am grateful, though. It was a very nice day, not too hot. So that was a good thing. And it really gave you the opportunity to really think a lot about the water and how important our water is to us. I also attended the raising of the Pride flag, and I attended the open house for Parry Sound Eye Care. That was formerly Dr. Axe and Dr. Sentjen's office and team, which was downtown. So the new office, I have to say, is very contemporary, very spacious looking, and it's certainly great to see an office now coming in the north end also of Parry Sound, and that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Keith. Council, staff, and public. May 23rd at 10 a.m. I attended an AMO executive meeting, and then on May 23rd at noon, I attended a meeting with a group called Civics, and we are working on an educational program through AMO that we're hoping to implement into school programs. And we're, as Councillor Ashford may know, I think we're trying to set up something at St. Peter's for later this month. Which would be good, but I think to fully implement the program the way we'd like to see it, I think it's going to be more towards the fall, which would coincide with local government week, which would make a lot more sense. And May 23rd at 6:30 p.m. we had a district land ambulance meeting, and there's an item on tonight's agenda for that. May 29th, I attended the high school's play BizTown, which was held at the Stocky Center. And I certainly want to thank them for the invite. The play was certainly entertaining. The students were really good. And I guess as a mayor, I'm supposed to keep a big bottle of Tootsie Rolls or whatever in my office or whatever, just in case. So, but it was very entertaining, and I want to thank them for all they did for whatever to put that together. May 30 at 9:30 a.m. I attended AMO's pre-meeting to get updated for the AMO MOU meeting with the province, and then at noon I had a AMO update with regard to the Social Policy and Human Services Task Force meeting. And then at 1 p.m. I had the AMO MOU meeting with the province itself. May 31st, 2:10 p.m. I attended the Pride flag raising at the town office. There were a few people in attendance, which was great. representing organizations and agencies. Councillor McDonald and Councillor Keith were on hand as well. And then May 31st at 4:15, I attended the ribbon cutting ceremony and opening of Aaron Ack's new optometrist office. Our MPP, Minister Smith, was also on hand, and congratulations to Aaron on the build. She and her husband have done a lot of work and it looks really, really good. June 3rd, I chaired the AMOS Social Policy and Human Services Task Force meeting. And then also on June 3rd was the West Parry Sound Economic Development Collaborative meeting, which was held in the Township of the Archipelago's office. And that's my report. This is being brought forward from closed, moved by Councillor Borneman, seconded by Councillor McCann. Whereas the Municipal Services Board for the West Parry Sound Recreation and Culture Center, the board, has received funding through the Infrastructure Canada Investment Program, ICIP, for the construction of a recreation and culture center, the center, to serve all West Parry Sound. And whereas there will be timing delays between the submission of claims to ICIP and the reimbursement of funds, and whereas the timing of fundraising monies is uncertain, and whereas the cash flow forecast assumes no fundraising monies are received before the center opens and indicates the construction financing in the amount of 13.5 million will be required during the construction of the center. And whereas the partner municipalities recently supported an amendment to the partnership agreement to permit the board to borrow to facilitate the construction of the center. And whereas it is proposed to access the construction financing through a combination of, firstly, direct municipal partner financing, 7 million, and secondly, board bank financing, 6.5 million. And whereas the town of Parry Sound continues to fully support the construction of the center. Now therefore be it resolved that the town of Parry Sound agrees to provide their proportional share of 7 million in construction financing for the West Parry Sound Recreation and Culture Center without interest within 5 business days of receiving a written request from the board's treasurer. And further be it resolved that the town of Parry Sound agrees to proportionally guarantee 6.5 million in board financing from the bank, providing information and security to the satisfaction of the board's bank. And further be it resolved that as the board receives reimbursement from ICIP and as fundraising monies are received, funds will be first be applied to repay outstanding proportionate partner funding and then outstanding board bank financing. And finally be resolved that council authorize the mayor and clerk to execute the agreement that reflects the same terms set out at in this report. Any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Moved by Councillor Bileski and seconded by Councillor Ashford that council direct staff to submit a 2024 AMO delegation request to the appropriate ministers requesting the town be involved in the process to dispose of the MNRF base at 7 Bay Street. Any discussion? All in favor then? That's carried. I'm on with, I think I need a drink of water. Moved by Councillor Ashford, second by Councillor Bileski. Whereas on April 5th, 2024, Belvedere Heights Board of Management received the long anticipated letter from the Ministry of Long-Term Care declining the request to relocate Belvedere Heights to a campus of care. And whereas the Ministry of Long-Term Care has requested that Belvedere Heights Board of Management express their intention regarding the addition of the previously approved in April 2021 24 beds to Belvedere Heights. And whereas the Ministry of Long-Term Care has provided the requirements to qualify for a recently announced maximum $35 per diem construction funding top-up by a November 2024 deadline. And whereas the Belvedere Heights Board of Management financing plan does not require new funding from its municipal partners, and whereas time is of the essence to comply with the Ministry of Long-Term Care recommended milestone for a municipal-owned approval by June 2024. Now therefore be it resolved, the Council of the Corporation, the Town of Parry Sound endorses the Belvedere Heights Board of Management's request to apply for final approval from the Ministry of Long-Term Care to build up to 24 new long-term care beds at 21 Belvedere Avenue, subject to the following conditions. That the proposal meets all Ministry of Long-Term Care requirements, including the approval of the required financing plan, provision of an approval of the final costs estimated, and provision and approval of the municipality's proportionate share of the required capital costs. Discussion? Councilor Borneman?
I just want to point out that this is not a final approval of the project. This is approval or an endorsement from council to move ahead with through the application process to the ministry. Currently, there's a close to 2-year waiting period to get into Belvedere Heights. 24 beds isn't going to solve that problem, but it's a step in the right direction for this community. They're badly needed, and we need to do what we can to serve the folks that are in need. I'm sure we'll be back here at various steps along the way, seeking further endorsement for council to proceed. But this is the next step in the process. I'll leave it at that.
Thanks. Okay. Councilor McCann?
This question would be for my colleague next to me. So the original approval with the 24 beds, was that a done deal? And this is for funding, or am I not correct in understanding that the beds are coming and it's a done deal total?
No, it's not a done deal total. This is being done in this way because through COVID and different other changes in direction, I guess, that the ministry's taken, they're topping up the funding that's available to municipal homes like Belvedere. So we're trying to take advantage of that as to minimize any financial risk or need that the home or the municipalities would have. I should, in all honesty, point out that I mentioned COVID. Through that process, criteria changed. 24 beds will actually become 22 beds at Belvedere because of the space that's available to us. It's I know our staff up there are pretty excited. Originally, the plan had called for the new beds to go in the basement where community support services currently are. But looking at it and trying to provide, I guess, the best outcomes, the new beds will now go in what is the administrative area on the top floor out overlooking the street in Georgian Bay, which is a room with a view, I guess, plus it'll be a pretty nice place to live, I think. So no, this is just a request to endorse this so we can go to the ministry and as the resolution says, get final approval to proceed. The project would then have to be tendered, and goodness knows how that might be returned with respect to the budget that's allotted. So as I said, this is the first step along the trail to getting these beds constructed.
So thank you, Councilman Borneman. So a follow up that then to this. Just to make it official so the public knows, the campus of care model is off the table. And I understand that the board only received word from the province very recently that it wasn't going to take back the beds as initially requested by the Board of Management way back when this was a bit of a seed of an idea.
Councillor Valesky, jump in anytime and correct me where, correct me where I need to be corrected. So we were recently notified that campus of care is not something the province wants to do. Belvedere is, you know, barely 20 years old. They don't see that as being good use of taxpayers' money, closing down facilities that are that age. It's not that we don't, and you know, quite honestly, again, back to COVID, their criteria, their priorities changed through that period with the number of deaths in long-term care facilities. They instituted a wide range of new policies that require a lot of money to update these facilities, even the ones like Belvedere that are relatively new. They promised 30,000 new long-term care beds, and they've oversubscribed to that. There are more of them allotted. So basically, they told us that either we get on with this or we give the beds back and somebody else will build them. As I say, we have a 2-year wait period. It doesn't seem to be the right thing to do to give the beds back. We need to do whatever we can to provide for the people in this community.
Anything further? Councillor Valesky?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll just add a little bit to it. This kind of came up, excuse me, in a bit of a rush in a way. When they found out that campus care wasn't going forward, and then they've kind of followed through with, you need to get this done or you're going to lose at $35 a day, which is a lot of money over the period of 10 years or so. And the plans that they took are plans that they kind of had off to one side, that they couldn't get an architect in time to look at it to get it ready, and they've come up with a set of plans. They found that the basement's not a good place to put these rooms, and they're going to put them up top. A lot of it's going to be done internally, changing the building, existing building. There is going to be a small addition out in the parking lot, which unfortunately we don't like to see parking being lost. But as I say, they're not asking for money. We're not asking for money right now. We're just asking, and by the looks of it, if everything goes the way it looks right now, there won't be any ask for any additional funds. We're just asking for council's council's support to proceed with it the way it is.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? All in favor then? And that's carried. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Keith, second by Councillor Ashford, that whereas all Ontario municipalities are prohibited from running budget deficits for operating purposes, and whereas all Ontario municipalities have similar pressures with respect to aging infrastructure and operating costs for policing, and whereas the City of Toronto has recently received provincial funding to cover a $1.2 billion operating shortfall and approximately $12 million in federal and provincial funding for their police operating budget. And whereas the City of Toronto has the lowest tax rates in the province, therefore be it resolved that the Corporation of the Town of Parry Sound supports Resolution 281/2024 from the Town of Cochrane attached to Schedule A, and calls on the Province of Ontario to treat all municipalities fairly and provide equivalent calls on the Province of Ontario to treat all municipalities fairly and provide equivalent representative operational budget funding amounts to all Ontario municipalities. Furthermore, that this resolution be circulated to Premier Doug Ford, Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing Paul Calandra, Parry Sound MPP Graydon Smith, and the Town of Cochrane. Councillor Borneman.
So I asked this to be brought forward, and I too agree that I in no way am asking that we be allowed to operate via a deficit budget. We see enough of that at senior levels of government, but I do support the resolution from Cochrane suggesting that all municipalities should be treated in a like fashion, that we shouldn't pick and choose and because somebody's not minded the store very well, get favorable treatment as they see fit. So
Fair enough. Anything further? All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Ashford and seconded by Councillor Bileski that the Council of the Corporation of Town of Parry Sound hereby supports the City of Belleville's resolution attached to Schedule A, which calls upon the province of Ontario to take immediate action to ensure family physicians are properly compensated with immediate fee increases, and that the administrative burden now being experienced by family doctors be reduced so they have more time to see their patients. And further, that this resolution be sent to Premier Doug Ford, Minister of Health Sylvia Jones, MPP Graydon Smith, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, and the City of Belleville. Any discussion? Councillor Keith.
Thank you. I asked this be brought forward because I think it's so important. We hear throughout our province and actually the country, the need for family doctors, to recognize there's a number of family doctors who are retiring, those family doctors that are still interested in doing that and not being specialists. I mean, requiring them to be spending a good percentage of time on administration when they got into that job to help people. Seems to me we're getting a little off kilter here. And I think economically, yes, it does have an impact. It also has an impact in every citizen in our community, because this is a need and we need our family doctors. We certainly don't want our family doctors seeing there's other places that we can provide service where we are also being financially compensated for, and recognize that we didn't get into the job to be administrators. So I think this is really important for us to support.
Thank you. Councillor Ashford.
I wanted to thank Councillor Keith for bringing this forward and also speak in favor of it. I had an opportunity after a Facebook post was going around about a family doctor who decided to leave the profession because of the challenges that she was facing in her vocation. And I had a chance to speak to my doctor and a couple of the doctors around town about it. And it is a situation where just compensation is not happening. So I really think that in order to attract doctors and get them into our community, we shouldn't be in a position where doctors are mainly staying in the field because it's their vocation or their commitment to their patients. They should be properly compensated for that as well. In fact, to attract doctors, we should maybe even be trying to compensate them more than just kind of the bare minimum to get it by. We took a couple minutes and went through exactly what was required to make sure that I was safe, and everything that when I went to the doctor, everything was in place. And it was really staggering to see the amount of paperwork and coordinating and things that need to be done. So I can't speak speak favorably for this enough. Thank you.
Thanks. Anything further? All in favor? And that's carried. Moved by Councillor McCann, second by Councillor Borneman, that whereas in 1996, the Government of Canada declared June 21st National Aboriginal Day, renamed in 2017 as National Indigenous Peoples Day, to celebrate the contribution of Indigenous peoples to Canadian society as Canada's first peoples and to recognize their different cultures. And whereas in the Constitution of Canada, Aboriginal peoples of Canada include First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. And whereas the Indigenous peoples of Canada made and continue to make valuable contributions to Canadian society, and is considered appropriate that there be in each year a day to mark and celebrate these contributions. And whereas many Indigenous people celebrate the summer solstice, which has an important symbolism in their cultures. And whereas the town of Parry Sound will continue its efforts to strengthen partnerships with other levels of government, community organizations, as well as the public and private sectors to honor and protect the rights of Indigenous people. Now therefore be resolved, the town of Parry Sound hereby proclaims June 21st, 2023 to be National Indigenous Peoples Day in the town of Parry Sound. Any discussion? All in favor? And that's carried. Moved by Councillor McCann, second by Councillor Borneman, that bylaw number 2024-7428 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a memorandum of understanding with the Village of Burkes Falls outlining the procedure for rehabilitation of the Burkes Falls EMS base be considered as read a first time. All in favor? That's carried. All members in favor of having the second and third readings? Carried. Moved by Councillor Borneman, second by Councillor McCann, that the bylaw above mentioned be considered as read a second and third time, passed, signed, and sealed. Any discussion? Chief Thompson, you want to give a little brief outline on what's happening here?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. The EMS system has been upgrading bases for a number of years, and it's beneficial for the EMS system to lease bases rather than own them. Of our 7 bases, we lease 6 of them. We do own one, the one in Powassan. It's beneficial due to the funding nature of how the province provides funding to us if we can keep the payments for the EMS spaces in the operating budget, which we can do through leases. We're in a process of upgrading bases. It's a continual process. We have most recently done upgrades in Humphrey as well as Point of Barrow. The next one to be looked at is the base in Burkes Falls. To do that, the base in Burkes Falls is owned by the Village of Burkes Falls, and we need to identify a method in which to provide the funding for it for the cost of the lease upgrades. The best way to do that is for the local municipality to pay for it and for the EMS system to pay them back over a number of years. That's what this MOU outlines, is how that procedure would work. This is a method that we have utilized in our 2 most recent base upgrades. That would be the full build of the EMS base that's in Point of Barrow, as well as the upgrades of the base that's in Humphrey. It has worked well, and when we have willing partners like we do, I expect we do in this case with the Village of Burkes Falls, it's a excellent funding method to spread out the cost of the base upgrades over a number of years.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Keith, second by Councillor Valesky, that bylaw number 2024-7429 being a bylaw with respect to remuneration expenses for members of council and local boards be considered as read a first time. All in favor? That's carried. All members in favor of having the second and third readings? That's carried. Moved by Councillor Keith and second by Councillor Valesky, that the bylaw above mentioned be considered as read a second and third time, passed, signed, and sealed. Discussion. Councillor Keith?
Yes, thank you. Just for clarification, we're on section 10.4.2, and the initial matter has to do with the compensating the lay members of the Committee of Adjustment. But I also noticed when I go down a little further for the bylaw 2024-7429, I think there may have been some housekeeping, be why that also is there, but I am concerned when I look at the expenses that are being allotted for counselors. For example, it says $100 for the day for expenses for obviously when they would go to a course, etc. And I feel that $100 a day is a little too low now with all the expenses that are the prices of everything have gone up. And if you look at going out to eat, say if you're on a conference or whatever, I think the allotment of $100 a day now is a little low. And I am suggesting that the allotment should be 150. And I would be moving for an amendment for that increase to 150 rather than $100.
For clarification, are you really referring to the loss of pay because you're going somewhere like?
No, I'm referring to when it's talking about meals, etc.
Oh,
And that's what I'm referring to, not the a loss of pay for the day. And I see we have it at $100. And as I said, when I look at the price, if anybody goes to a restaurant now, I think for a whole day, if you're on a course, whatever, $100 I think is a little low when you figure out the tip. And also because often it's over 15% and your tax. So that's why I'm moving it to 150 rather than 100.
Ms. Johnson?
Your worship, that's, it's schedule, sorry, I just had it. It's Schedule C, expenses is item 4, and then A, Roman numeral 2, meal expenses on the basis of $100 maximum per day with receipts.
Is there a seconder? Councillor Ashford? Discussion on the amendment. Councillor Ashford?
Just seeking a bit of clarification. If I understand how this works properly, it won't actually increase the amount of money a counselor is able to spend on a conference. It just will increase that limit for food for that particular day, given that the meals would likely be over the 100 maximum.
Yeah, correct. Any other comments? All in favor of the amendment? Any opposed? Okay, that's carried. The amendment's carried. Okay. Any further discussion on this bylaw, which is amended? All in favor then? This bylaw is amended. That's carried. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Borneman, seconded by Councillor McCann, the bylaw number 2024-7430 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council be considered as read a first time. All in favor? That's carried. All members in favor of having the second and third readings? That's carried. Moved by Councillor Borneman, seconded by Councillor McCann, that the bylaw above mentioned be considered as read a second and third time, passed, signed, and sealed. All in favor? And that's carried. So, prior to adjourning, the next regular council meeting for the town of Parry Sound is scheduled for June the 18th, which is a Tuesday at 7 p.m. The meeting will be held at the town of Parry Sound Council Chambers at 52 Seguin Street, entrance via Gibson Street, and will be live streamed and recorded. All regular council meetings are held at 7 p.m. on the first and third Tuesday of each month, except January and August, where only one regular meeting is scheduled. The council meeting schedule, notices of special council meetings, complete agendas and minutes, and instructions on accessing live stream and recorded council meetings are all posted on the town's website. Go to www.parrysound.ca and use the search bar. Your TV airs council meetings on Saturday at 9:30 a.m. following a regular council meeting. And for Cogeco listings, contact www.yourtv.tv. Thank you, everyone, and have a good night.